Hello and welcome to CHGO Red Stars. I'm Sandra Herrera, joined today as always by my friend and colleague, Watkins, aka the Scam Originator. CHGO Red Stars presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. On today's episode, we've got some things to chat about with everybody. Thanks everybody for joining us. Today we're going to chat about a recap of Chicago versus Orlando Pride. We're going to do a little chatter about Chicago's pre-match media availability, and then go ahead and preview Portland Thorns FC, which is going to be taking place on Saturday, May 28th, 7 p.m. Central Time. For everybody, tune in to Paramount Plus if you're not going to be there, but you should go if you are able to hit up a Red Stars game. It's going to be Pride Night. Excited about that. Kicking off Pride Month early for the Chicago Red Stars. Always into that.
Yeah, a couple NWSL teams are doing early weekend. I heard years ago that it's easier sometimes to get partnerships done a little bit earlier because, weirdly enough, like things get really packed during actual Pride Month. I will say a little bit, and I'm not trying to be a hater or a complainer, and this is not just a Chicago thing, but I think the teams that are doing it this weekend, I think they launched like their Pride merch yesterday.
Yeah.
Or like they talked about their partnerships a couple days ago, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this seems a little rushed.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the gesture.
you gotta get those early days in
Yeah.
for the merch. I mean, it's the revenue streams, right? But we're not an ROE podcast. We're a Red Stars
It's true.
Podcast. And if you want to support work that we do here at CHGO, the best way to do that is to download the PointsBet app. Use code CHGO when you sign up. If you do that right now, you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making more than a $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. If you have any questions, you can email pointsbet@allchgo.com. and we'll help you out. PointsBet, your home for live in-play betting, just got even better. They are introducing a new feature, the live NBA same-game parlay. For the first time ever, you can build the perfect live NBA same-game parlay with only PointsBet. You can combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. If you want more, you can also boost your live same-game parlays. Watch live, parlay live, and boost live with PointsBet. And now you have online sign-up available in Illinois, and you can download the PointsBet app right now and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. So don't wait.
Getting right into the ad read. I like it.
Get that gambling in.
Yeah.
High roller over here.
Well, yeah, and I mean, maybe this is a good seg over into the game that we watched.
High risk, high reward.
High risk, high reward. 4-2. It's so funny. Didn't we talked about this last time? We talked about how the Red Stars, those Orlando games tend to be a little bit wacky, and they are very high scoring, weirdly enough. Like, I'm remembering they had that horrible loss in early 2019, right, to the Pride. It was like 5-2 or something.
Yep.
And then they beat Orlando in 2019, like right after Sam Kerr came back from the World Cup, and it was like 4-3 or 3-2. And so this one being a 4-2 game actually felt kind of fitting, because it's not like the games between these two teams are like cagey or like chess matches, though this one actually was obviously very, very slow until it sped up quite a bit. But yeah, a 4-2 game is not one that we saw the Red Stars in very much last year. No, it's so funny. I think when they won that Louisville game, or even when they lost the San Diego game, we were talking about this last week about how everyone was a little bit like, the good old Red Stars, 68% passing accuracy and they get 2 shots on goal and all of that sort of stuff. But this one felt a little bit more like what they've been talking about, like who they want to be.
Yeah.
And so this game was very different, but it is kind of funny that it ended 4-2 because it was 3-0 for a while. And then, it was a wild game.
I mean, I appreciated I appreciated the early start in this one.
Yeah.
When we were previewing this match against Orlando, like we didn't really say it, but like we also said it. We were like, we want to see a dub. Like,
yeah.
We want to see,
and we thought it was possible, right?
We were like, look, we want to see a Red Stars win against Orlando Pride. That was a team that we felt that Chicago could maybe utilize more of their first-year players and try to get that kind of game day experience and also still pick up a win.
Right.
So shout out to Sarah Griffin.
Yeah. No, I mean, the game started off well. I mean, I think the tendencies of the match itself it was very slow, very methodical. Watching it was kind of funny. I think I like tweeted this when I was like, no one's going to believe me, but there's been more like technical buildup in this Pride Chicago game in the first half hour than I think we've seen all year. Partially because obviously Orlando was dead tired and we knew that coming off of their midweek, and they had won that game, right? They had won that game against North Carolina, and I think that they put a lot of effort into that. And it was a slow paced game, but that opening goal was really nice. Not just the Griffith finish, and I think Sarah Griffith had a good game, but I really liked the ball that Zoe Morse sent up to Vanessa DiBernardo, and then the ball that DiBernardo sent into Griffith.
It was like the dime before the dime.
Well, I mean, that's one to talk about for a second then, is that they were able to, I mean, the downside is they did have DiBernardo playing the 6 again, but they put Zoe Morse back in the 3-back. And as good as I think Zoe Morse has been as kind of that Swiss Army knife in the defensive midfield, it's obvious that when she has the ball at her feet, if she has a little bit more field to look at, she has a better vantage point to distribute, and I think that we saw that in that goal.
Have there been enough games? Is there enough data out there when we're looking at a player like Zoe Morris to say, we like her a little bit deeper and lower for this Red Stars team? I say yes.
I think so. I mean, I think that, and also I think that for whatever reason, probably just, years of being on the same team, for whatever reason, I do think that the DiBernardo Colaprico defensive midfield, though obviously not ideal, there's a little bit more, they're finding each other a little bit more. Whereas I think when Morse was back there with Colaprico, there was a little bit less of a fluidity in space and kind of knowing where each other was going to be. Yeah. But no, I would say that I actually think, and we maybe will talk about this when we preview Portland, I think they need Zoe Morse in the back line. I think that it's more important to have a player like that in that 3-back than it is to have her kind of shoring up that defensive midfield pretty significantly. It's like what we saw in the Challenge Cup. She was very, very good in the 3-back, and then I thought again against Orlando she was quite good. So
I don't think that's unfair to say at all. I just think I do. I pose that question for a reason, because I was watching this game and I was like, well, Zoe Morse has been a real treat to watch and start off this 2022 for the Chicago Red Stars. And having the game, seeing her push a little bit higher, and then going to a game where actually we need you back here, I was like, because that looks good. I was like, this is a player that I think even when they drafted Morse out of Virginia, it was a lot of what we heard, I think, about her from even other teams where this player might have been on their draft board, was that she had excellent vision.
Yeah, right.
And I think in 2022, we're starting to really see what that looks like on a team for the Chicago Red Stars. And I think this opening goal, man, was pretty representative of that. I say it jokingly, I was like, the dime that led to the dime, because that's ultimately kind of what I felt it was. I was like, I really liked how quick it happened. I just thought the vision was there, DiBernardo to just sort of serve it up, and then even for the rookie, for Sarah Griffin to just sort of make the quick decision and get that in the back of the net.
Yeah.
I thought it was good for the Red Stars to start off the game that way.
Well, yeah, for sure. And then I think also, obviously, things opened up more in the second half once they got Pugh on the field, and we'll talk about that. But I do think, and we have this kind of running through the graphic ticker, they held Orlando to no shots on goal in the first half. Yep. There was just like nothing the Pride really could do to disrupt the passing. They ended with 85% passing accuracy. So basically, you know, this game became, and this is actually one of the enjoyable things for me following the team so far this year, is every game's a little bit different. Whereas in last year, it felt like we were watching a lot of the same soccer game. Is this became about, okay, so Chicago's going to get a lot of the ball. Can they do anything with it? And so that's where you actually, it's not a bad idea to sit off, especially when they don't have Pugh on the field, because you go, okay, we might not have that many opportunities, but who's going to score for you? And so I do think that team goal in, what was it, the 8th minute? The 11th minute was great. And then I do think that they left a couple more on the table in the first half. And I know that the team, it was really interesting talking to the team after the game, because obviously 4-2 win, they're happy with that, but they're actually, I think, very focused on what they could do better, actually, rather than the results. They like to win. They know what their limitations are right now. And so I think they would have been happier with the performance if they had scored at least one more without Pugh on the field and then let her come in and kind of wreak havoc, rather than having it still just be a 1-goal difference at halftime.
I think I'm thinking back also to our previous episode when we were doing the preview of this, when we chatted a little bit about pre-match availability ahead of Orlando's game, where we were, we got to hear from Chelsea Darber, we got to hear from Sarah Lubert, and we were like, there's a lot of excitement around these players linking back up or joining the Red Stars, but the reality was that Lubert was not going to be available for this one. And then when we saw the availability reports come out, Darber as well was unavailable. But even not having that knowledge at the time of us recording, it was kind of like, it would be really cool to have this, for this team to get a dub, to see a lot of first-year players out there, but also who is going to score for the Chicago Red Stars. So to see this lineup drop with Ava Cook, Sarah Griffin, Yuki Nagasato, Hill, DiBernardo, Colaprico, St. George's, Morris, Sharples, Malazzo, and then Nair holding things down in net. I was a little curious if we were going to see like a breakthrough goal for one of the rookies to come through. I thought it might have been Ava Cook. At one point, I thought she was also pretty active in her role in that first half. But I'm with you. I think, I think really even after that like half hour mark, when they just couldn't find another one, after going up so early, and then looking at all of the space that Orlando was just kind of conceding to them. It was just kind of like, it's right there for the taking. It's right there for the taking. And
I mean, you do have to talk about, like, again, the Orlando of it all. But I did think that they were doing a better job. And I wrote this in the piece that I wrote this week, which is I think one of the nice things that we saw, especially even with a lineup that's not the first choice, probably 11, is you saw at least on the wings, like you saw Rachel Hill on the wings and you saw Bianca St. George on the wings, kicking the ball into space rather than, kicking the ball into space and then the team having a teammate running into that space. And I think that we saw in the early going of the season, there was a lot of either kicking to somebody's feet or actually kicking maybe a little bit behind somebody's feet, or, and having ball played into space and the player's not quite making the run. And so it's those kinds of early season things that you can be really patient with if it starts to improve. And I do think that we saw that improve in this game. I really liked, there were a couple moments, and obviously this is not a surefire way to get an opportunity, but there were a couple moments when Bianca St. George had the ball and she saw the Pride had shifted over to her wing and they were trying to clog her dribbling lanes. And so she just whipped the ball over to Hill. And Hill is one of the faster players on the team at this point. And Hill was able to run into space and kind of switch the point of attack. And I think that kind of awareness, even if it didn't always come to anything, was really promising,
Yeah.
especially with the understanding that Orlando wasn't doing anything going forward. And so if Chicago had been conceding a lot of attack, I think maybe we'd be having a different conversation. But
I think that's some of the stuff that like like when we're hearing from the team that even coming out of a win like this, they're like, there's some things that we can tighten up and we can work on. It's like these stretches of moments, these areas that I think that they're probably referring to in terms of being able to capitalize on those type of opportunities. But I mean, hard to say that, you know, a 1-0 lead is disappointing at halftime. They go into the half with a lead on the road. Mm-hmm. And another thing that we talked about was the potential availability for Mal Pugh in a game like this. That this was perhaps the opposition that would be the test to see Pugh's return. Now, how the minutes restriction was going to work, we were a little unclear on that. Wasn't sure if we were going to see her for half hour or 15 minutes. And then here comes the start of the second half, and Mallory Pugh is substituting into the match out of halftime. Now, is that something that maybe surprised you or threw you off at all?
No, I think that was pretty much exactly what I expected. Her going a full 45 didn't really shock me. She's someone who obviously outside of her head injury has been really fit. I think that, you know, they were not quick with it, right? It had been 4 weeks, I think, since she suffered that concussion. And so I think, and I said this right when she came on, which is the nice thing about being so cautious with that is when you get that player back, you're really getting that player back. And so, I think a full 45 made sense. I think for her, also, you think about her goals. I'm sure she wants to be 90 fit in 3 weeks because that's crunch time, right, for the U.S. So, I think that didn't surprise me. Maybe only a surprise that she came on at the half rather than starting the game and coming out. But, if you can have Mal Pugh running at tired legs, I think that's a pretty good deal.
That was the energy, right? Yeah. That was the vibe. As soon as we saw it happening in real time, I was like, yes, this is exactly the right and correct move that coach and player could be making. Right now, I have to imagine in the halftime, it was like, so do you all see what's happening out there? Do you see the space that's in front of? Right. How about we get Mal Pugh, run out there and see what happens? And it was a real treat. It was great to see a player like that come back and not miss a beat. Yeah. My God, it was like she was on a training course and the cones were out there and she was
traffic coning Orlando a little bit.
She was just slicing and dicing.
Yeah. And it also, you look at the the two initial goals that she was a part of, which was the assist to BSG, and then
it didn't take very long, 9 minutes, 54th minute.
Yeah, it didn't take very long, and she didn't have to do that much. That's the other thing too is it's not when a player immediately is involved in 2 goals, you're like, wow, that's amazing. But when a player does that and both of them are kind of from just a standing position, you're like, well, I mean, it reminds you of, and I don't think that this is that same Orlando team, but it does remind you of the disaster days a little bit where they would be trying to play out of the back and they would give the ball away. And and that is actually a nice thing about having a player there's a lot of players like that, Pugh's like that, Smith's like that, Ashley Hatch is like that, where it's kind of their job to get in the back of the defense's mind a little bit and try to force those kinds of mistakes. And so that first assist, from a totally standing position, because Orlando 100% just did not, close down on her. And then that was a nice finish from Bianca St. George. We talk about the assist, but that turned into a goal 100% because we've seen BSG be in kind of that exact same angle before, and her instinct a lot of times has been to power it, to shoot it in the air, and she hasn't quite mastered the trajectory of that shot. And so that time she keeps it low and she keeps it on that tight angle, and it turns into a goal. And then obviously the goal that Pugh scores herself was just a really bad giveaway in the back by the Pride. So again, she just kind of stuck her foot out. I think that pushed it over to DiBernardo, who just flipped it back over. She's like, here, you got it.
Try it.
Go for it. Yeah, exactly.
This was, you know what? I don't hate it. I don't hate that perhaps this was a game where, again, it's still early enough in the season where you have the Red Stars having in-game moments of let's try some stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm a fan of that. I liked it. Watching this opening assist for for Pugh in the second half absolutely was just like a moment for me where she was just like, okay, well, if you're going to present that to me, I'm just going to do this and see what happens. And it ended up leading to a go-ahead goal assist for her. And, yeah, I'm with you on BSG. I think I'm loving the angles that she's trying to take advantage of.
And again, I mean, when you have a team that is still, again, figuring out its scoring identity without one primary goal scorer, you have to read between the lines. It's kind of the stuff that we were talking about with Pugh last year. And like BSG's, like her XG added is, I think, good for top 10 in the league.
Yep.
The other player that I actually want to shout out, and this is maybe good to talk about the second half, is Danny Colaprico actually as well.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting thing to me about the Morse question and also what happened in the last 10 minutes. Because it's one thing to be like, oh, game got crazy. But what happened is they took Colaprico out.
Yeah.
They send some more rookies in. And again, it's kind of the same issue. They lose control of the match. And Danny Colaprico, I think, is second. And it's a little bit of a wonky stat because it is sort of personalized to American soccer analysis, but they have, in addition to XG, they have an XPass a data set. And what that means is it's basically like, we know that XG is about the different scenarios of a shot positioning for the likelihood of it turning into a goal. XPass is kind of like the likelihood of it turning into a successful distribution. And Colaprico's second right now as a defensive midfielder. She's only behind Abby Urseg, who's been, very good again for North Carolina. So they have a couple players who are really taking those huge steps forward. I think BSG is one. I think Colaprico looks healthy and she looks in command, and that's why you don't necessarily need Morse next to her. You just need DiBernardo kind of floating.
Yeah.
But when you take Danny out after her 10,000th minute, by the way, props to that. Then the other team's like, now it's time for us to cook.
To try.
Yeah. And so that, I think, is the difficult thing for the Red Stars right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna shy away from giving kudos to that position. I mean, I think they recognized that right away.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, so this was a player that was clogging things up, giving us fits. Let's try some things now that she's off. It was pretty apparent. But it's important to note that, because there's oftentimes a lot of energy where it's just like, oh, well, this game really got away, perhaps, or it got kind of wild in the end. But it's like, actually, no, there was a little bit of a buildup to some of the chaotic energy that might have been happening towards the final 10 minutes of this match. A sort of breakthrough for Orlando coming really late,
right?
By Amy Turner, which I think
she was offside. Talk about that. She was offside though.
I have in my literal notes here
that
Alyssa Nair is never wrong.
Yeah, ball don't lie on that.
Alyssa Nair is never wrong. What the hell is my notes? And I just am like, you could see where there have been multiple moments. I think you and I could both sort of attest to this, that in all of the Red Stars games that we've watched or attended or been a part of in some capacity, we have seen that pretty often from Alyssa Nair. There's a lot of moments where you can go back and she's like letting the AR know right away, like, okay, so she's offsides.
Yeah.
She's offside. Them right there, see that?
Right.
That's offside right now.
Well,
so you could, I think, understandably sort of see her frustration, because especially it's coming off of a set piece.
Yeah, and it is also, we have to talk about what happened before, which is that Sydney LaRue earns a penalty against Amanda Kowalski. And so Kowalski comes in, immediately LaRue starts running at the rookie. And I think this is probably an issue with who they have available. You don't really want to be making defensive subs like that late in a game. It throws rhythm off. It's really difficult for a player, especially if they're immediately under pressure, to get kind of in line with the pace of the game. And so Sydney LaRue kind of takes the last piece of energy she had in her legs to win the penalty, because that was a dead-legged penalty, man. It was like she took it all just to earn it, and then when she took it, it was like, but
it's like, actually my legs are jello right
now. And then right, the Amy Turner goal, it was offside, and I think that's significant, not to the ending of the game or anything like that, but when you watched it live and the goal was given, you think to yourself, oh my God, who's supposed to be marking that player? You think, like, why are Chicago not defending on set pieces? What's going on? And it's like, well, they caught her offside.
Yeah.
They did their job, and playing an offside trap, I will say this, that playing an offside trap, if the AR is not consistently going to call it, is unfortunately a dangerous game. And as much as I would like to say that they're 100% right to do so, it's an unfortunate situation where, like, yeah, that should have been, that tactic should have been rewarded with an offside call, and it wasn't. So,
and I by no means am gonna, sit here with you and be like, oh, this led to some frustration for the Red Stars and they weren't able to, close out a game. They did. It was a frustrating moment, I think, and then obviously you have things like a replay or things like different angles on a replay to see, and you're just like, oh man, like Alyssa Nair was correct once again, once more. But even with it, we see Mallory Pugh, respond right back. Yeah, getting the insurance goal, I guess we can refer to it a little bit, and then having Leah Pruitt try to get another one and really make things, I guess, a little bit more chaotic for neutrals who are watching.
Well, the dueling penalties was also kind of funny because because Pugh had a legit penalty shout prior even to the Orlando goal. So it was just something where I don't know if people were tired, or even just when you get a game that's like at 3-0, things, the other team just goes like, F it, we're going, and I think that changes things as well. So, yeah, I mean, it got pretty silly at the end of the match, and in a way that, again, I don't think the Red Stars were thrilled with. I think they would have liked to have just really closed it out. But I guess it's good to be scoring lots of goals if things are going to get weird in the back,
That's nice to see. Getting the goals and getting the 3 points for the Red Stars and this very early standings of the league that are way too early to really kind of consider a full.
Well, they also have only played 3 games, whereas
to 5.
Yeah,
for some other teams out there. But it was, I guess, it could be considered by neutrals as a bit of a wild finish. But I really liked what we saw out of the Red Stars within this win. That it was 4 goals and that they were exiting.
Sorry, can I just pause and. There's a pizza chat. There's a pizza conversation going on in the chat.
We're talking about pizza?
Yeah, they're talking about pizza, and I do need to. Here's the thing. So they're talking about pizza downtown. Now, I have not gotten pizza downtown.
What happened?
In a really long time, but when I was in college, there was a Pisano's right by Monroe, I think. And that Pisano's, I'll just shout out that Pisano's because they had a deal on like Tuesday nights that like you could go and get like a $5 pizza if you bought a soft drink. And you had like a student ID, so it was like all for all the poor students. And every single week my roommate would go to that, and I would be like, dude, that's too much Pisano's, that's too much pizza. But
Pisano's.
Yeah. Anyway, so if that Pisano's is still down there, that one's decent if you want to do like a traditional deep dish situation downtown.
Yeah, I would say that Pisano's is better for your deep dish.
Yeah, if you want to get like the Chicago tourist experience,
I would
say
take
Pisano's.
it a step further and say that there are also better deep dish options
for sure. But if you want to stay down in the loop, then
but if that's where you are locally, that's probably
where to go.
Your best bet. But wow, made folks hungry.
Anyway,
Red Stars Cheddar making folks hungry.
That's
for pizza. So thanks live chat for keeping it live.
I just wanted to
and keeping it popping.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, Pisano's is decent. It's okay if you're doing the thing.
Yeah, if you're looking for a deep dish and that's where you are, go ahead and get Pisano's.
I mean, it's no Papanino's, but whatever.
We're just saying it ain't no.
Anyway, so Logan says thoughts on Hill at wingback. I thought she did great. I think I honestly think that we talked about this last week, right? We talked about like where does Rachel Hill fit into this? Where does Rachel Hill fit into this new system? And wingback is kind of the answer, I do think. And obviously, I don't know if she's going to be displacing Erin Wright or anything like that. But I think that they, I was told after the match that they slotted her in last minute. And her versatility is something that Chris Petroselli really likes. I think that Hill was essentially playing wingback last year anyway. She was just doing it as a forward.
That was already the role.
Right. Yeah. So I thought she did well. I mean, again, with Hill, I always would like her to be generating more attack. I'll say that. Like, I think she's a very good defender. I think she can run and run and run and run. And I think that she's a really important piece of helping the Red Stars control the flow of the game. But I always am just a little bit like, I wish that she was turning more of that into just attack generation, essentially. Well, Nate, what happened at the end of the last 10 minutes is they made a bunch of subs, man. They made a bunch of subs.
Yeah. It happens. This is NWSL.
That's right.
It happens.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about like rookies performing in the front line, I mean, this is Kowalski's first year with the Red Stars.
I think it was a rough sub.
First year
I think it was
playing
a rough
against
sub.
NWSL competition.
Yeah.
That's it's a tough transition to make. We hear all the time about how that transition is not easy to go from the collegiate game.
And I just think
to
it's
the professional
easier
league.
in a weird way. I think it's easier to start if you are dealing with that, because then you're like, okay, I have a lot of time to get used to how this feels. I think if you sub someone, I think a defensive sub into the 3-back with 10 minutes to go was necessary due to fitness, but also is just like not really what you want, I think. So.
It happens.
Yeah.
You could also sort of like I had a little bit of a chuckle when that moment happened. You could see Sydney Leroux, like you just saw it on Sydney Leroux's face. She's just like, okay, I am going to do a thing.
Yeah, time to do.
I am
time
going
to
do
my
a
thing.
thing against this rookie, and I am going to win. And guess what? That's what happened.
Yep.
And you could see Kowalski being like, "What are you talking about?" Like that barely even but. Maybe you could see a little bit of a veteranship versus rookie in that one, but that's going to take time. I mean that's a moment, that's a learning moment, right?
Well, that's why you have a listener to bail you out. So
yeah, and to be telling the AR like, listen. Pay attention.
Yeah,
this is all
exactly.
Yeah, I loved it. Love 3 points. Love to be able to come on here and chat about a dub and chat about pizza. You ever had coffee? Pizza, Claire? That's gross. Right?
That's really gross.
That's really gross.
I don't know how I feel about that.
That's called a transition, baby.
Yeah. Okay, maybe like you could have, I'm sure if you were in the like Italian countryside, they would have like a margarita pizza and like a cappuccino or something like that, but no. But so anyway, forget about the pizza. We do need to briefly
talk about
the coffee. So if I were to have coffee with pizza, which I don't think I would.
Yeah, don't do that, guys.
But if I did, it would be Strava craft coffee. Because I want to start my day with a competitive edge. Strava CBD coffee is a game changer and has helped thousands of people to improve their overall wellness and quality of life. Strava delivers delicious, fresh-roasted specialty coffee infused with organic broad-spectrum CBD. CBD from hemp doesn't make you high or hungry, but it does offer real benefits that can help you feel alert and focused without the jitters. Live your day more balanced with less anxiety and fewer aches and pains. Plus, including CBD in your daily routine can even help you enjoy more restful sleep so that you wake up feeling your best. The best part, Strava is all about quality. Everything is small batch, fresh, and shipped straight to your door. Strava also offers concentrated full-spectrum CBD tinctures for those looking for a more traditional CBD format with a powerful entourage effect of benefits. CHGO listeners can save 25% off their entire purchase when you use the code CHGO25. That's 25% off your entire order at StravaCraftCoffee.com when you use the code CHGO25 at checkout. Discount coupon valid on non-subscription purchases only. One use per customer. Already love Strava? Subscribe and save with the Strava Coffee Club. With Strava, you're in control. Save on your favorite coffees and have them automatically delivered to your home or office on your preferred schedule.
I am once again.
Oh, Nate's right. Oh, you're so right. You know who could have used some coffee?
We're working on it.
You know who could have used some
pizza?
Yeah, that's so true.
You're right, though. That's perfect.
So if it happens again, it might happen again, where they make a lot of subs and they have trouble holding on to the game.
Make a mental note.
We'll be like, get that girl some coffee.
Get some CBD coffee.
That's right.
Actually, I'm once again after the Strava read. Asking CHGO to please hook the Red Stars podcasters up with some Strava coffee. I do believe I would like to try it. And let's get back to some Red Stars chatter. We do have a game to preview.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Coming up quick. Yeah. Coming up quick.
It's a doubleheader. The Sky are playing the Aces at 2 p.m. and then I think the Red Stars game is at 6. 6, 7. Oh, that's better. Yeah. So
7 o'clock.
So yeah, if anybody wants to like make a real day of it, I think you could.
You can really rack up some women's pro sports in Chicago.
That's right.
Mañana. I know we're gonna maybe try.
I think we might try.
We're gonna maybe try to make some things happen.
I kind of want to.
If we are half dead,
if it were a different team than the Aces, I might be like, I don't know, but I really want to see the Aces.
I want to see Wilson, and I want to see Beck and Hammond. Yeah. Quite frankly, but I also really want to see the Red Stars go up against Portland Thorns.
It's kind of a similar energy in both games, right? Like Sky versus Aces. Like the Aces are, well, they're not, but like, or they used to be maybe like a little bit like they have the same color scheme and a little bit villainous, right?
Little black and red vibes.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Chicago blue vibes.
That's right. So maybe it's like a little bit of
I'm here for it. I'm here for the parallels there.
Yeah.
We had some pre-match availability ahead of this game. Mal Pugh sitting in on the conference, getting to chat a little bit alongside Chris Petroselli. We got to hear them speak a little bit about the possibility of this one turning into maybe a little bit of a clogged match there in the middle. We got two teams that are going to be rolling out in some similar formations, maybe canceling some things out, and might be seeing some action on the wings.
Yeah, I mean, both teams at this moment are pretty hyper-pragmatic, a little bit slow. They pack their midfields, right? You know, Portland plays with... It depends on what you think Christine Sinclair is, but I think they play with 4 in the midfield. And Chicago famously plays with sometimes 6. So I think that basically the goal ultimately will be to try to avoid letting Portland advance the ball through the middle. And so if that works, then you're going to be seeing a lot of probably quick transition on the wings. Which scares me a little bit.
A little bit. This is where
not because I don't think the wingbacks can do it, but Sophia Smith is very good.
Look
at this exact game.
Let's talk about a couple storylines going into this match. Honey, okay.
I like your energy, Nate.
Nate, keep it coming.
Yeah.
If the one of the storylines, let's just say, going into this match, is people are going to say, oh, it's going to be Pugh versus Smith. Sure, that's a thing to pay attention to.
Sure.
But, Claire, we were chatting a little bit, off mic even a little bit, that maybe another storyline or 1v1 to look at could be, you know, Sophia Smith versus Chicago's outside back.
Tatum Milazzo is going to have a big game. I think that, you know... Well, it also just depends on who lines up at left back, whether it's going to be Aaron Wright, who's been dealing with some lingering injury, if it's going to be Rachel Hill, if it's going to be, Alyssa Motts has played that for them in recent weeks. So it'll probably depend on who's in front of them or in front of her. I assume Milazzo will be able to go. But, I think that help defense is a useful thing sometimes. And, yeah, I mean, the good news actually is I will say that Portland ultimately, and let this be famous last words, but, you know, Houston was able to nullify just a couple players for Portland last weekend, and it worked. So I think that if there's anything encouraging for the Red Stars of the kind of the tape that they've seen from the Thorns, it's how Houston successfully nullified Sinclair and nullified Smith for the most part. They did their best, right? And that worked in their favor, and they kind of just took their shots. Yeah. And I think when you have a player like Pugh, you're always going to be in the game. And I think if you then can lock things down on defense yourself, I think that you have a shot. I really do. I mean, we saw how they beat Portland twice last year, both in the regular season and in the playoffs. Yeah, and it was kind of that similar thing. And the Portland Thorns are not the same team that they were even, 2 years ago. So I don't know. It could be an ugly game. But I also think, I keep shouting out Nate. I think Nate's right. I think that it's something where I'm not anticipating a ton of goals in the first half, but it's more just when Chicago gets tired, when they do have to make substitutes, who are they going to have to bring off the bench, and will that upset the defensive shape enough that someone like Sophia Smith can just walk through the defense, I guess.
And when I've been thinking about this matchup in the I should be more specific. When I've been thinking about the 2022 version of this matchup against the Portland Thorns, when we're looking at Chicago versus Portland, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, are there shooters in this match? Yeah, there's shooters in this match. Do I think it's going to be a shootout? No. I don't think so. I think we're more than a couple matches removed from the wild 420 game that we saw,
right? Or even that 5-0 disaster last year.
Last year, it's just two different teams. I think that we're going to be, two different versions of these franchises that we're going to be witnessing on Saturday. And again, we're doing this ahead of some availability reports, so I think it also is going to depend on personnel that's available for both sides of the pitch in this one as well. I'm going to be looking at that for Portland, and I'm going to be looking at that for Chicago. Somebody like is this the game that Chelsea Darber gets a run
I would love to see
Darber
in this one.
Professional NWSL
it really
match.
Is a bummer that Lubert is not available for this game. This would have been the perfect game for her to come into. So that's a bummer. But hopefully Darber will be available for at least some minutes. And again, it's just like available subs, right? It's just what subs can you make when you have to bring people off that aren't all just hyper defensive, or if they need to chase the game, can they do that? But I'm hoping, I will say this, I am hopeful that the weather's going to be a little bit nicer. Yes. Chicago just not only has not had that many home games yet this year, but obviously nothing that's felt like summer yet, and so hopefully there's going to be I would like to see their biggest crowd of the year, and I don't think that's too hard to achieve. And then I also just hope that they put on a good show, because I think that those Chicago-Portland games are underrated, actually, for their entertainment value. Sometimes it's not fun if you're a fan of one of the two sides, but they are entertaining, I think, every time. Yeah.
No, I'm in agreement with that as well. I think for a long time there was like a thing around this where it's like, Portland Thorns they just own the Red Stars, every single time. And while there's still some truth to that when you're just looking at like numbers of things, the actual competitive nature of those matches, I think we're always in existence. So I just am like, I'm just excited for this next era or this next version of matches between these two teams. I'm maybe even looking at players on both sides of the pitch and what they can bring. When we're looking at just Chicago, when we're looking at who could possibly be available, who is a player, or who are some players that we want to see have an impact or have a big game?
The unfortunate thing is, I think that a lot of the problems go away when Morgan Gautrat becomes available, and that's not going to be this weekend.
Right.
And so what I would love to see from the Red Stars, in terms of actual changes, is the ability for someone like Vanessa DiBernardo to push forward a little bit more, or for Yuki Nagasato to be a little bit more free-flowing and not having to be quite the distributive link in between the defensive midfield and the attacking midfield. It's just not going to happen this weekend. And so I think that, like, with who they do have, I think in order for Chicago to have a good shot at scoring, I think I would really like Aaron Wright to be available. You really need to start stretching that defense a little bit. It'll depend on where they play. Megan Klingenberg, we'll see if she's available. They also, they played 3 games last weekend, but they did get this whole week off. I think this is going to be a real test for that 3-back, I think. And I'm hopeful that they just stay locked in and really engaged for the whole game, I guess.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I want to continue seeing what we're seeing, with Bianca St. George and specifically maybe between her and Mal Pugh. I know this is a team that got back a player in Yuki Nagasato, and I appreciated seeing what she was presenting on the pitch and against Orlando. I'm a little curious if she can maybe bring some of that patience for the team against the Red Stars or against Portland as well. I think that'll be helpful.
Yeah,
quite frankly, for them when we're looking at these two teams go up against each other in kind of similar formations. I'm with you in some of the things that you were referring to earlier about how we're rating Rachel Hill right now. I would like to see her continue to sort of be more active in that kind of wing back role and kind of spearheading
I think
attacks.
it's a good fit for her. Yeah. Hell, I'd rather see like Wright move into that attacking midfield and just keep
see what
Rachel
happens.
Hill as the wing back and see what happens. Yeah, move her into.
We're gonna be looking at the wings.
Move. I was gonna say
in this one.
I don't think it would be the end of the world if I don't think they're going to do this, but I would try at least one game. Maybe this isn't the game to do it, but I would try Hill as the wing back and Wright as the wide attacking midfield rather than the other way around. I think they'd probably prefer the other way around, but Erin, I think it would be great if Erin Wright can play, and we'll find out later today if she's available or not. But I think you just have to be fast. I think the distribution is going to have to be good because that Portland back line, their spatial awareness is really, really incredible. Like you look at who they have back there, they've got Quicka, they've got Klingenberg, they've got Sauerbrunn, they've got Hubley, Menges, whoever actually ends up playing. But all of those players are really difficult to break down. And then the other thing is, we talk about this with Portland all the time, is you just have to be ready to win the ball and fight them for it.
100%. We've been hearing that's how Chicago wants to play. They want to have the ball. They want to control through the game through possession. And I just, I think that's going to probably resonate more true than any of the other matches I think that we've seen this team play in 2022. We always see those kind of funny. Here's 3 keys to the match, like that are tweeted out before, and a lot of it is like possession, and it's just kind of like, well, sometimes in this league it's a little transitional. Maybe you don't always need all the possession, but I think in this one, if you have the ball and Portland doesn't, I think that's gonna maybe work out in your favor a little more than if you're going up against.
Well, Portland doesn't really want the ball that much, so it might turn into something where they do let Chicago sit on the ball a little bit more, and they're going to try to punish you for your mistakes. So I guess don't make any mistakes.
Yeah, if just easy, just
is
simple.
The other one.
Maybe that'll be when we see the keys.
The keys of the game.
That they always tweet out.
Don't make any mistakes.
Number 1.
Number 1. That's me every day. I wake up and my affirmations are like, they're the keys to the game.
That's what it is.
Work really hard. Don't let them win.
Don't let them win.
Don't make any mistakes.
Oh, man. Logan shouting out the 5-0 loss and saying competitive.
Yeah, I said Logan, they're entertaining.
Look, Logan. They got 4 goals dunked on them in that first half, and they only conceded 1 in the second half. So there you go. Winning the second half. Yes. Here we go. I think it's looking at the wings. People are saying Pugh versus Smith. We're looking at Smith versus the backs for Chicago. Quicka and BSG, I think is going to be a big one as well in this one.
She's been playing really well.
I'm excited to see.
It's just a lot of good players on that field. Yeah,
there's a lot of good players on both sides of the ball, and I think these are also 2 teams who are still technically ironing out or figuring out their identities in 2022. We're talking about the Red Stars only having 3 games under their belt. Portland also playing behind on a game as well. I think they've only got 4 games under their belt as well. So there's still some some development, or some evolving that's happening for both of these teams.
Well, and I think also, and this is maybe my final thought on it, is just I'm very interested in kind of what people are seeing from Chicago. Like, I know what we're seeing from Chicago, but I'm really fascinated always to see like where people are perceiving them. You look at power rankings, you look at that sort of a thing, and that's kind of I've seen a number of those this week where like Chicago, like went down in their power ranking, even though they beat Orlando 4-2. And which I understand, though. I'm not ragging on that, because I think people are sort of thinking like, yes, that was a great game from Chicago, but we're also seeing the reasons why they might not be the real deal this year. Yeah. And so I understand that. And so being able to, like Nate said, close the game out against a good team would go a long way in sort of changing that perception a little bit. Because they beat Orlando, they beat Louisville, they lose close to San Diego. You go, okay, so that team can play, but there are some obvious reasons why maybe some other teams look better than them, or have the potential to be better than them. Yeah. And so I think that I said this in the piece, which is just they need to just keep taking steps forward. It has to be progress, and it sucks that they're in that situation. You would love for it to be like they're at their level and they just have to play at their level, but it is actually like they have to keep taking steps forward every game.
I think this is probably gonna be that big test.
Yeah.
For them to sort of test out 2022. I think coming at the end of the month, I think is also really good timing. They will have had, full month of the regular season, behind them at this point. So I think having Portland Thorns as sort of their kind of final test to sort of close out May, I think will bode well, I think, for the players. I think no matter what happens, if it's a win, loss, draw, whatever, it's going to present them some things to continue to work on moving forward. Yeah. But hopefully, like we closed out last week, hopefully we're going to hope that it's a dub, manifest that, and that we'll be able to be back here next week and talk about another victory for the Chicago Red Stars. Thanks everybody for joining us. If you've enjoyed, what you've heard today, if you want to support CHGO and our work, the best way to do that is with a CHGO membership. We've got podcasts and live shows on every team every day. Some post-game shows for you all to check out. We've got premium written content for all members at allchgo.com. We've got all kinds of dope merch for every single team. You get a free shirt when you become a member, and you get access to a members-only Discord, the CHGO Lounge. Go Red Stars, baby.
Yeah, go Red Stars. Yeah. And people might have noticed, but one of the other things about the CHGO membership that is if you are a Red Stars fan specifically, is I've really made a point to be on as much availability as possible. So doing post games, doing pre games, making sure that I'm talking to players and coaches every week. So you're not getting that content anywhere else, and I know that because I'm on the calls. So if you would like more of that, and I want to keep working that in as much as possible, CHGO is the place to go for that, and there's nobody else doing it quite like us. So sign up for CHGO, and thanks everybody for joining us.